They did not wear standard uniforms. They did not operate under clear command. And if captured, they were often denied protection as soldiers. During World War II, Britain deployed small teams deep behind enemy lines. Their mission was not to fight battles, but to ignite resistance. This was Operation Jedburgh, one of the most secretive missions of the war. World War II is remembered for vast armies and decisive battles. But long before Allied troops returned to Europe, another force arrived first. They came quietly, dropped by parachute into occupied territory, with no guarantee of extraction. Their task was to organize sabotage, arm resistance fighters, and prepare the ground for invasion. These men were not meant to be seen. They were meant to disappear. By 1943, the Allies faced a problem. Liberating Europe would require more than soldiers landing on beaches. German forces controlled roads, railways, and communication lines. If left intact, they would slow any invasion. Britain and its allies needed local resistance to rise at the right moment. Operation Jedburgh was created to solve this. Each Jedburgh team consisted of 3 men: a British or American officer, a French officer familiar with the terrain, and a radio operator. They were multilingual, highly trained, and expected to operate independently. Once deployed, they answered to no local authority. They were expected to improvise, adapt, and survive. Jedburghs were trained in sabotage, demolition, cryptography, and guerrilla warfare. They learned how to destroy rail lines, how to disappear into civilian populations, and how to command fighters who had never worn uniforms. Mistakes were fatal. Noise was dangerous. Trust was uncertain. Jedburgh teams were parachuted into France, Belgium, and the Netherlands, often at night, often into hostile territory. They carried radios, weapons, gold, and false identities. Once on the ground, they had to locate resistance cells without exposing themselves. Many never knew if help would ever arrive. Jedburgh teams were not front-line fighters. Their greatest weapon was coordination. They organized sabotage timed with Allied offensives. Rail lines were destroyed. German reinforcements delayed. When D-Day arrived, resistance networks ignited across Europe. This was not coincidence. It was preparation. Jedburgh operatives did not always wear uniforms. If captured, they risked being classified as spies. Many were executed without trial. There were no rescue missions, no negotiations. Each operative understood the risk before jumping. Operation Jedburgh was remarkably effective. Resistance sabotage slowed German troop movements. Communications collapsed. Confusion spread. Yet, after the war, Jedburgh operations received little recognition. Their missions were classified. Their actions absorbed into larger victories. Many Jedburgh operatives returned home without medals, public acknowledgement, or official records of their service. For years, even their families were unaware of what they had done. Their success was measured not in praise, but in how completely their work disappeared into history. In official histories, their contributions were often reduced to footnotes or omitted entirely. The liberation of Europe was attributed to armies and generals, while the groundwork laid by small teams operating in isolation remained unspoken. Their reward was anonymity, a silence that mirrored the nature of their work. Operation Jedburgh raised uncomfortable questions about the use of irregular warfare, about civilian involvement, and about actions taken beyond conventional law. So much of its history was buried. The teams dissolved, records sealed, and the story faded. Governments understood that acknowledging such operations risked legitimizing tactics they preferred to deny. Admitting the scale of sabotage, coordination, and covert killings would have blurred the line between soldier and spy. Silence became the safest conclusion. There was also a political cost to revealing how deeply resistance movements had been guided and supplied. Public acknowledgement could have exposed collaborators, reignited post-war tensions, and challenged official narratives of liberation. For many governments, forgetting was not neglect, it was strategy. Operation Jedburgh proved that wars are not always won by armies alone. Sometimes they are shaped by a handful of men operating far from command, without reinforcements, without recognition, and without certainty of survival. These teams did not arrive to claim victory. They arrived to prepare the ground and disappear before history could record their names. Many never spoke of what they had done. Some were never officially acknowledged as having served at all. Their reward was silence, but their impact was undeniable. Railways were destroyed. Communications collapsed. German forces were delayed at critical moments that shaped the outcome of the war. This was not chance, it was design. Operation Jedburgh was not an experiment. It was a blueprint for modern covert warfare, and it was only one operation among many. Across history, weapons were built to vanish. Missions were designed to leave no trace, and decisions were made that were never meant to be explained. This channel exists to uncover those stories, to examine the weapons, operations, and strategies that shaped history from the shadows. The chapters that were classified, denied, or deliberately forgotten. If you want to understand how wars are truly fought, not on maps or monuments, but in secrecy and silence, then you are in the right place. This is Hidden Weapons of History, and this was just the beginning.